Welcome back to Tea Talks with OnLadder. My name is Cameron Orcutt. I'm the CEO and co-founder of OnLadder. As part of our ongoing interview series, we talk to industry leaders to get a better understanding of the big topics of the day and new innovations that are coming to market. In this interview, we talk to Jinesh Vohra of Sprive. What Sprive does is they want to help homeowners to be able to pay off their mortgages faster. Jinesh, really good to see you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for stopping by. Just to kind of kick things off, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, experience, and what do you do now?
Cool. So I'm Jinesh Vohra. I'm the CEO of Sprive. My background's investment banking. I worked at Goldman Sachs for about 14 years. Started off in the operations division, was there for about 10 years. Then I moved over to the risk division. Towards the end of my career, I was responsible for like a third of the organization from an operational risk standpoint. Then decided to kind of leave the corporate world behind and start Sprive and essentially help people pay off their mortgage faster.
What prompted you to leave that, what I would imagine is a very cushy job, very comfortable job? What was kind of like that inflection point for you?
Well, I've always wanted to start my own business. My dad was an entrepreneur, my grandfather was an entrepreneur. Oh. And I remember being at university and going, I'd love to kind of start my own business, but I had no idea what I would do. And everyone around me was essentially looking for jobs in banking because I did an economics degree. And so I applied and got an internship at Goldman's and then got offered a place and then kind of joined their graduate program back in 2005. And then once you're in, you start to really like focus on kind of climbing the corporate ladder. Probably 3 years into my career, I started managing kind of global teams. And then I kind of just never looked back. But then what happened is a few years back, someone I worked with, who's now actually my co-founder, was looking to leave and was like, hey, I'm leaving to start my own business. Do you want to do something together? And that literally kind of sparked this whole kind of process of where every day after work we'd brainstorm business ideas. I think we started in the summer in like July and then came up with the idea for Sprive in November, and we're really excited about the proposition and that kind of stemmed the process of us then kind of raising some money and leaving our jobs.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I guess actually that's a good lead into Sprive. Sprive, what is the problem that you guys are trying to solve?
So the actual problem is actually a personal pain point that I experienced when I was a homeowner. So we're going back around 10 years now, but my wife and I bought our first home. Remember seeing the mortgage offer document and it's saying for every pound that we borrow, we'll be paying 50p in interest and thinking, wow, that's a lot of money. And so we started trying to essentially make overpayments to try to pay off our mortgage faster. And through that journey, we just found out that it wasn't as simple as I would have once thought. So for example, we were making overpayments and I was thinking, great, we're kind of getting on top of our mortgage. And I saw our monthly payments started to reduce. And then after some investigation, I kind of realized actually I didn't want that to happen, that my monthly payment should be staying the same when I'm overpaying to be able to save as much interest as possible and essentially pay off my mortgage faster. And then through like even just kind of refinancing, we had quite a lot of pain points. And kind of taking that step back, I was thinking in this day and age where the average homeowner is like, the mortgage is like their largest household commitment. It's like 11 million people in the UK. Most people spend 25 to 40 years paying off their mortgage, paying the lender tens, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds in interest. And ultimately, if you ask the average person, do you want a mortgage? What would your life be without a mortgage? I think a lot of people would be quite excited by the proposition of not having that burden over their heads. And so we've essentially built a solution that does two things. One is helps people save as much interest on their mortgage as possible throughout its lifetime, and secondly, helps them pay it off as quickly as possible. In the UK, it's something like 3 million people are expected to have a mortgage past the age of retirement. And it's not kind of surprising if you think about just the landscape we're in. Property prices are rising, salaries essentially aren't. So by the time people get onto the property ladder, they're in their kind of 30s. Moneyfacts did some research that recently said that it's on that 59% of mortgage products now being sold as standard have 40-year terms. So you can quite quickly imagine why so many people are kind of in this kind of precarious position. And it's just getting worse. You've got first you've got the pandemics, so a lot of people kind of taking mortgage holidays and having challenges around kind of increasing the amount of debt they're in. Now you've got the cost of living, and then you've got rising rates. So that trend is going to just get worse and worse, and we're here to help.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good point. I mean, it's not just you say you're 30, you get your first home, you get a mortgage, and it's a 25, 30-year term. Things happen as things go on. It's not necessarily it's not necessarily always a pandemic or a geopolitical conflict that raises prices or causes you to reassess your financial situation. It can just be it could be on a more micro level. Just like personally, people get divorced or other things befall someone. So being able to proactively pay down some of that debt over time, it actually puts a floor underneath their financial experience going forward to a certain extent. But yeah, I guess can you go into a bit more detail on exactly how the app works?
Yeah, sure. So it's essentially an open banking enabled app. Takes literally a few minutes to sign up. You download the app, available on Android or iOS. You essentially link your bank account via open banking. You provide us your name, address, date of birth. We then automatically locate your mortgage information. You then essentially in a position where we can set aside spare cash. So the less you spend, the more we set aside without kind of impacting your lifestyle. And with one tap, you can essentially make mortgage overpayments to your lender. We support 12 of the largest lenders in the UK. So if you have a mortgage like Barclays, Santander, NatWest, Nationwide, we support all the big lenders. Theoretically, we can support up to 8 million homeowners in the UK. And then as you start making the overpayments, you can then kind of see how much interest you're on track to save, how many years you're on track to knock off. If you set aside some spare cash and you need the money back, with one tap you can hit withdraw. The money goes real time back to your bank account. Say for example, now it's around Christmas time. People might be spending all their money on like Christmas presents, etc. You can easily pause any auto saves, and so it provides real flexibility that essentially adjusts based on your lifestyle. And you can see cool things like your loan to value. So I don't know if you're aware, but in the UK, like the lower the loan to value in terms of 5% thresholds, the better chance you have of actually unlocking cheaper deals when you actually refinance.
Yep.
You can see things like how much of your home you own. So you might start off by owning like 5% of your home, and then over time, every month we kind of refresh the value of your home. And so you might be own then 10%, 15%. Obviously, as you use the app, hopefully one day then you're essentially owning your home. So that's quite cool analytics that we show within the app. We also show things like your early repayment charges. So some people are kind of worried about making overpayments. So we can track within the app how much of your allowance you've used so that you just have that peace of mind. I remember when I was kind of managing my mortgage, I was doing that all through Excel spreadsheets. And then the beauty of the app as well is that when you sign up, we locate all the details around your mortgage. So we know how much you've got outstanding, your mortgage account number, your term, your monthly payments, etc., etc. And what that allows us to do is scan the market every day for better mortgage deals. So in the mortgage on a given day, there's probably about 20,000 mortgage deals across 90 lenders.
Right.
And so we'll basically look, and if we can find you a better mortgage deal, we'll then help you get that mortgage deal. And because we have a lot of information on the customer, we can make it a really nice consumer journey. So that's kind of fantastic. And then the other thing that we've been really focusing on is we're starting to go into a cost of living crisis where some people say, well, actually, I can't make mortgage overpayments. I don't have spare cash. And the premise of our app is you don't need to put thousands of pounds towards your mortgage. You're literally just chipping away a few pounds a day can make a huge difference. Like the average, to give you some context, like the average Spride customer right now is on track to save £10,000 in interest and pay off their mortgage 4 years earlier. And they're just chipping away, putting a few pounds here and there. But what we're trying to do is also morph the app into, you don't need to have extra money to pay down your mortgage. So for example, we partner with brands like Morrison's, Asda, Sainsbury's, M&S, John Lewis, Iceland. Every time you shop at these brands, you get extra cash that helps you pay off your mortgage faster. And that's just the beginning. We're looking at adding features like where parents can help their children pay off their mortgage faster through gifting. So the parents get inheritance tax benefit and the child also can kind of chip away and save money on their mortgage. We can even do cool things like maybe you can opt in to like watching ads, and every time you watch ads, you get extra money that helps you pay off your mortgage faster. We can do cool things like fill in surveys, and every time you fill in a survey, you get extra money towards your mortgage. So we're looking at really kind of fantastic ways of just helping people. It doesn't matter whether you're super affluent or whether you're just not maybe a little bit challenged around kind of finding that spare cash. But ultimately, everyone should be able to become mortgage free. Not in their kind of late 50s and 60s, but sooner.
It sounds like an amazing app, and it sounds like I'm trying to think about who you haven't partnered based on the laundry list that you've provided. But I guess how does why, to start with, why the mortgage industry? Why start there first? I mean, what you're really offering is a way to pay down debt, but there's all sorts of different types of debt. What really stood out about the mortgage industry and that you needed to get there first? Because it's not an easy place to innovate in.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, first thing I'd say is when you look at like household debt in the UK, mortgage debt accounts for 80%. So it's the biggest debt that exists. And when we started looking at the market, we felt that there was an element of like innovation that I think needed to come into the mortgage market. There was a paper back in, I think 2018, 2019, where the FCA actually wrote a call for innovation, and I happened to come across it and read it and kind of realized that actually there's some other kind of financial markets that have got been a little bit ahead of the mortgage market, and obviously when an industry is slightly behind, there is opportunity to kind of do things that no one's ever done before. And so I kind of looked at the mortgage market and was like, well, how can we create innovation given the constraints that exist within the market right now? And the key constraints, what I would say, is that the largest 8 to 12 lenders cover a big chunk of the market. The likes of the Barclays, the NatWest, et cetera, et cetera. And if you think about some of the pain points when it comes to the mortgage industry, is how quickly does it take to kind of get a mortgage? And it can be 2-month, 3-month process. But can a new innovator change that? My general view is that it's challenging because they've got huge balance sheets, and ultimately the lenders, they will over time improve that experience, but that's not, they've got systems that they've been using for the last 10, 15 years. That's expensive, and it all takes time. And so for a new player to compete with those kind of giants is challenging. And so we were kind of looking at the market of like, where is there space? And we looked at like when I was at Goldman's, they invested £40 million in Trussell. So we started looking at like some of these businesses, because you had like Habito, Trussell, Mojo, that were like essentially backed by VCs who'd come in essentially with the goal to kind of disrupt and kind of gain market share. Because when you take a step back from an intermediary standpoint, which is where they came in, the mortgage market is kind of quite highly fragmented. I think the numbers show there's like 1.9 million mortgage transactions that happen a year, and some of the biggest intermediaries like LNC and Countrywide probably do about 50,000 mortgage transactions. So there's definitely space for consolidation. But what you find with like the likes of Habito and Trussell is that they're kind of trying to acquire customers every 2, 3, 5 years, that's when typically people look to refinance, and they're competing in a very competitive landscape where they essentially got a website, and you need to kind of convince people to kind of transact on that website. But then you've got 90 lenders that have got websites. You've got 4,000 mortgage intermediaries. They've got all websites. You've got comparison sites, etc.
Like
how do you cut through? How do you cut through, right? And so for us, we got inspired by apps like Moneybox, Plum, Chip. So for those watching that don't know those apps, they're essentially fintech apps that help people kind of also set aside spare cash for the purposes of saving to invest. And like Plum's got like 1 million customers now. Moneybox and Chip, last time I checked, had about 500,000 customers. And so it was like, well, why can't we do the inverse but pay down debt, start off with mortgage debt, but then you've got a lot more of a stronger relationship. You're engaging with the customer every week. You're providing real meaningful value. And look, if we can get to like 500,000 customers, then hands down, I think we'll be one of the largest mortgage intermediaries in the UK. And with the data and the trust that we have, there's a lot of other things we can do. So think about, like, for example, home insurance, car insurance, pet insurance. We can get into that space. We can go into things like say, for example, Just Park. So they help people rent out their driveways. We could segment our audience and say, look, who's got a detached home or a semi-detached home with a driving space? Let's target that audience and see if they're interested in renting out their driveway. And that way, we do that, but Just Park might pay us some extra cash, etc. But also helping the customer, because they're earning more money. That more money then helps them pay off their mortgage faster. And so that's kind of why we've really focused on the mortgage market. We just felt like there was a space there. There wasn't really anyone helping people kind of like make overpayments and save money. And ultimately, if you go to the core of what a homeowner wants, they want to pay less interest on their mortgage and they want to pay it off quicker. And everything else is just more transactional. And so that's kind of where we felt like we could focus our energy on. And then look, if we nail mortgages, there's no reason why we couldn't move on to like credit card debt, student loan debt, and car finance debt.
No, 100%. And I mean, starting with mortgages, I mean, these are ultimately very valuable customers. They're principally they will have a higher credit score. They will have more financial. They'll have more ability to use a lot of those other services that you might bring to the market. So probably a larger lifetime value, I would imagine. That's great. So I guess you figured out where you wanted to start in mortgages. I guess and you have like a pretty large user base. What was it again?
About 11,000 now, just over 11,000, yeah. We launched in October last year, so about a year to take us to that level. So I'm really excited about next year.
Yeah. So direct to consumer seems to be going quite well. I guess from the mortgage industry as a whole, I mean, you've started having conversations with brokers, across the industry. What has been the general reaction to it? What's the is it positive? Do they have comments like?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So it's a mixed reaction. I'd be honest. At the moment, we are essentially helping people pay off their mortgage, etc., and we acquire the customers and we scan the market. And if we can help them refinance, we'll do that. But there's no reason why it has to be our mortgage advisors that do the switch. Ultimately, anyone could kind of get access to our technology, and then ultimately own the customer and then get them to refinance and use our proposition to acquire customers, to engage them, retain them, and have access to the data, and through the customer's consent, be able to provide them a much superior kind of mortgage switching experience. And so, and the way it kind of works, in case there's any kind of advisors listening, is that would give the advisor a unique link. They would then, the customer would download the app, and they'll get a very customized experience. And so they would see the advisors, whether it's their face, if that's what they want, or their logo, their brand logo, pretty much every week within the app. They'd essentially be able to communicate, provide advice, coaching, and help them through that journey as they looking to kind of pay off their mortgage faster and save interest. And then when the time came where we could find them a better deal, they'd be connected to the mortgage advisor, who would then do their thing.
Yep.
And essentially get them the best deal using kind of some of the technology that we have within the app.
So this is you're not trying to get around the broker in any way. You very much value exactly what they bring, and how they can help the customer make sure they're making the right choice.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so like for example, we did one post on the weekend. We got 120 people sign up. That's 120 leads. Now, if technically they all refinance, then you say you earn £1,000 in commission off each customer. That's pretty good. And so, can we empower advisors to do something similar? A lot of them have partnerships. They have partnerships with maybe estate agents or accountants and other people that are like introducers. At the moment, for an introducer, it's quite tough trying to convince someone to refinance with a particular broker. You have a conversation, you reach out to them, say, hey, when's your mortgage due up for expiry? That might be like 2 years time or 3 years time. Well, come back to me, or you should speak to this mortgage advisor in 2-3 years time. They can really help you. They're really good. I guarantee you in 2-3 years time, that person's long forgotten that conversation.
Right.
Where here it's a lot more easier. Are you interested in saving money? Are you interested in paying it off? If you are, download the app. It takes 2 minutes to sign up. Now the customer's on a journey. Every week they engage with the app. Then they have that goal to become mortgage free. And when the time comes, seamlessly they're kind of routed to the advisor. So hopefully it's a tool. The way I see it is advisors can really grow their propositions very quickly, and generate more revenue. They can, sometimes I hear advisors find it really challenging to sell insurance products. Well, within the app you can seamlessly kind of sell insurance products, etc. And so it can help them grow, but also earn more revenue, but also have more engagement and touch points. Like half the market now, we're going 5-year fixed. In 5 years time, how do you know that customer's going to come back to you? But through this app, they're going to see your logo or your face every week, and and you're really helping them kind of add value and building that kind of trust and connection, and that will help you get there. And so the reaction when we're not really actively selling a product at the moment. We're very much on a fact finding mission. I'm a firm believer in that if you're building products, you need to build products that actually solve a problem, and you need your stakeholders to essentially be bought into what you're essentially providing in terms of value. And that's what we do with our customers. And so we're really in this kind of process where we're just talking to advisors and saying, what do you think? What do you like? What would it take for you to use this product, etc. And some people are really excited about the proposition, and some people get a little bit nervous and are worried about kind of like, oh, why would I send my customer to you, etc. And so it's really just having these conversations and trying to build trust. I think that's sources are going to be very important. And then we're also like talking to lenders as well, very early conversations, but seeing if there's any angle there that we could help lenders, because ultimately they're a big part of the mortgage community as well, just to see what their feedback is, etc., and see if there's a way of being able to kind of help both the customer and themselves.
So you're not in a selling mindset right now. You're very much in a learning mindset, taking in feedback so that brokers, lenders, their feedback can inform how you guys operate so that it better suits what they're doing while keeping both eyes on how this helps the customer.
Exactly. I think ultimately with any business, if you put the customer at the heart and soul of what you're doing, then everything else kind of takes care of itself.
Yeah.
And if you think about whether you're a lender or whether you're a broker, advisor, ultimately, if you have the customer's interest, then the customer will look after you.
So you have like a pretty strong customer base, 11,000 to start. You're starting to put feelers out into the the broader industry with brokers and lenders and getting feedback. So I guess this is where you're at now. But over time, how do you see Sprive kind of evolving? Say over the next 5 years or maybe even 10 years. Where do you see this? What's the vision, really?
Sure. I mean, I kind of touched upon at the moment. Obviously, we're very focused on helping people pay off their mortgage faster, and I want to create as many ways as possible to do that. And so that's kind of a key focus. And on that product, like I see kind of two themes: how can we help customers save more so they have more money to be able to put towards their mortgage, but also how can they earn more so that they can put more money towards their mortgage. And so that's kind of an important thread. We've got the mortgage switching piece, and how can we make that best in class given the constraints we have with the lender. So that's kind of like core. Then once we've kind of really feel like we're doing that well, and we've got hopefully we can partner with like the intermediaries. I'd love to be able to power the intermediary community and get like 100, 200, 300 mortgage intermediaries that are essentially using our proposition, our technology to essentially grow their businesses. I think that would be kind of amazing if we can make that happen and build that trust to kind of help the customers and the mortgage intermediaries. After that, I feel like in the UK we'd probably go into kind of student loan, credit card finance. I feel like I kind of worry about like the effects of like the cost of living crisis and how much people are kind of piling onto debt. You've got the whole buy now, pay later. And I just feel like I meet so many fintechs trying to get people into debt and not many fintechs trying to help them to get them out of debt. And so I feel like there's a space there for us to kind of really help. And the technology that we built is very easily transferable to other debt types. And because we understand the complexities around it, I think that would be kind of really nice to be able to help people in that space. And then we often get asked questions like, should I pay off my mortgage or should I invest or should I put money towards my pension? I think that's a big kind of financial dilemma for people. I would love, I feel like mortgage is like the average person's largest household commitment. If you get on top of their mortgage and you build that trust, then you could maybe do a lot of other things, and maybe you can then start helping them with the asset allocation and thinking about, well, should I put money towards my pension or should I put it towards my ISA or should I put it towards my mortgage or should I put it towards my investments? And I think helping people with that decision process would be amazing if we could kind of get there. And then who knows? I mean, I'm quite active on LinkedIn, and I get people asking me, you should do this in the US or you should do this in India. I actually had a meeting last week.
So Sprive's going global.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right? I mean, if you think about debt, debt is just across the Western world, but also across the world is just it's increasing at a phenomenal rate. I was going to say, like, one of my investors knew someone who loved the idea and said you should start Sprive in the Middle East. And so he was like giving me like a serious offer on how to essentially make that happen. And I know nothing about the mortgage market in the Middle East. So I think one step at a time. I think the call right now is let's just focus on mortgages. Let's just focus on building our user base, helping as many people refinance through the app as possible, and having conversations with the intermediary market. Let's nail that, and then hopefully we can be the likes of LNC and Countrywide and put a foothold in the mortgage market. Will give us the foundation to then kind of take things and do some of the other things that I mentioned.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's, as a fellow startup founder, it's, that's something where, you have to be focused. You have to have both eyes on like what you're really doing at the time, but it's impossible to ignore some of the things that are happening. You see on the periphery and some of the opportunities and all that, but that's the job. and it's making sure that you maintain that focus. And if you do, this thing is successful, and then it bleeds into just other things. It allows those opportunities to become more of a reality down the road.
Yeah.
I guess with that, thank you very much for coming by, Jinesh. It
No,
was great
thank
to
you.
hear.
Cheers. Thank you.